What's up, you guys? Godzilla Fan Freaks coming at you today with another figure review. And today we are going to be reviewing the X Plus 25 centimeter Rick Boy set Godzilla and Ebirah, or however you want to pronounce it. Anyway, get straight on into this review with the box. Very plain cardboard box with, the Japanese lettering on it and whatnot. You got X Plus up in the corner, but plain cardboard all the way around except for the very back. You got all the legal jargon and stuff like that. But very nice box all the way around for this set. Get that out of the way. Now, before I get on to the silver and gold of this review, I want to talk about the Rick Boy editions first, what they come with, just because they're small, they're short, and just to get them out of the way. This set comes with a mini Mothra and a mini giant condor. Now, they each come with a little, they each come with a little stand that you can put on, and these arms, these Tamashi-like arms do come off of these bases, but the bases are just a very nice clear, glass-like plastic. And each cradle is different, though. Each cradle is kind of a hard rubber. This cradle is for Mothra, more or less. And then, of course, you got this cradle for the giant condor because his feet come in between down that gap. So that's the only differences between the stands, more or less, are just the cradles that hold the figures. But those are the stands for each one of them. And now, here are the two mini Rick Boy figures. Let's go over Mothra first. Mothra, very nicely well done and detailed. I mean, X Plus, whatever they put out, whether it's 25 centimeter, 30 centimeter, or a gigantic series, or a very small trinket, they do a great, fantastic job with paint apps and detail. Paint apps for Mothra, very nicely done. For all her fur is very nice white with a little bit of yellowish orange, kind of almost like a Cheeto-ish orange, for all the different areas of fur there. Her wings are very nice black, kind of a brick red, and then a little bit of creamy yellow. And then her eyes are a very nice blue with a little bit of white shaded right in the center of them to give them that shine look. And then she has brown for her, maw and her underside, and then where her wings connect to her body. Detail on Mothra is also very nice. All her fur is very nice etched into the sculpt. Eyes are very nice, very nice slick and a slick, smooth surface. Her wings have very nice rivets. Not rivets, but you can kind of see that detailing pattern in there. They have very nice, whatever the, stems running down the wings, whatever you want to call those. But very nice detailing in the wings, I must say, even along the edges. Very nicely well done. Her feet very nicely etched in there. Her, her little mouth and everything, her little stinger and everything, very nicely sculpted and etched in there. But very nice little mini Mothra here. And each one of these figures came separately before this set. So Godzilla, there was a standard Godzilla, and then the Rick Boy Godzilla came with the little mini Mothra, and then the Rick Boy Ebirah came with the giant condor. Giant Condor is very nicely detailed and sculpted and painted, again, for how small it is. You got all the very nice browns. The Giant Condor is pretty much all these very nice shades of brown with maybe a little bit of black shading here and there. The eyes are very, very slightly painted, just a little bit of white with little black dots for pupils. His claws are black. His feet are a little kind of a reddish brown. But very nice, dark browns here, and then they kind of go to a lighter brown to his back side of his wings and his tail. But very nicely well done. Beak, very nicely sculpted. Feet, claws, and toes, very nicely sculpted and whatnot. Feathers and everything, very nicely etched in and, sculpted into the sculpt. Just very nicely well done mini giant condor figure. Nothing much more to say about it. It's just a nice little addition to have with this set. Now that all of that is out of the way, get all this stuff down and out of the way, now that we're done talking about the Rick Boy editions, let's move on to the first figure in this review, which is Godzilla 1966. This figure is awesome. I have to say so myself. Now, when I went to go buy this set, I'd been looking for an Ebirah for a while, so I mainly kind of wanted just the Ebirah. But since my buddy Dell was, he came up to selling the set, I was like, how much does he want for it? He told me the price. I said, okay, and then I bought it. So, but the Godzilla, I find that, I'm equally in love with the figure. It's actually a very nice and very well done figure. X Plus hardly ever puts out anything that's terrible. But just to go into paint apps with Godzilla first, for his skin, you got that very nice, charcoal, grayish, black skin all the way around. For his claws on his hands and his feet, you kind of have that bone colored with a little bit of darker shading, darker shading grayish brown as it gets to his skin. His teeth are a very nice bone white. The inside of his mouth is kind of like a pinkish red. Very nicely well done. His eyes are kind of like a smoky white that go into a caramel-like brown, and then you have a black, and then you have the white dot in the center. So his eyes are very, very nicely well done and paid attention to for detail and paint apps. Very nicely well done, and his eyes even have a little bit of a gloss over them to give them a little more of that realistic feel to it. Godzilla's dorsal plates kind of have that same kind of, skin tone towards that grayish, blackish charcoal color in the middle, and then you kind of have this bone white, ivory type color along the outer edge of them, going all the way down. Now, as detail goes, detail very nicely done. Now, we all know X Plus makes these things to follow the suit. They make them to the suit. So, you got all the wrinkles and everything that, all the wrinkles and flaps and all that stuff that, make it look like this is a guy in a suit. They're not really made to be like a realistic monster type look. They're made to the Godzilla suits themselves, which makes these figures awesome and a great collector's item. But you have all the very nice detail in his reptile-ish skin, very nicely well done. You got all the wrinkles and, like I said before, very nicely well done. Teeth are very nicely etched into the sculpt. Tongue is very nicely molded inside of the mouth. All the dorsal plates, very nicely done. Now, it might seem like the gaps in between the dorsal plates are a little far apart, but that's just because of Godzilla's pose. He's kind of at that hunch, so these kind of have a little bit more spacing in between them just because of the way he's hunched over and kind of posed. Hands and fingers and claws and everything, very nicely well done and sculpted. His feet, very nicely well done. His toes and his claws and everything, very nicely well done. Dorsal plates, very, very beautifully well done and sculpted. Definitely the 66, style from Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. Very nicely well done. All the way around, from the center ones that are big, and then on these cider ones that are a lot smaller. Very nicely well done. Face, very nicely well done. The nose is spot on. Very nicely well done in the face. Again, this is kind of like the Cookie Monster, face Godzilla, just because if you were to put blue fuzz on him and stuff like that, he'd kind of look like the Cookie Monster a little bit. Tail, very nicely well done and sculpted, I want to say. Now, the tail does stick out, straight pretty much and kind of upwards, so this guy will take up a little bit of shelf space, but it ain't too bad. The area where I have him, it's perfect. Perfect fit, not taking up too much extra space at all. Just fine. The dorsal plates running down the tail are very nice, and this is something I didn't notice until I had this figure, and I had to rewatch the movie and try to see Godzilla's tail the best I could. You pretty much have the center line of dorsal plates going all the way down the tail to the very end, but then you have the two dorsal plates that are on the side that only go about halfway up the tail. So that's very nice paying attention to detail, I must say. Very nicely well done. Overall, this figure, very nicely well painted and detailed all the way around. Godzilla's pose, I want to say, I like it very much. He's in that hunched over position. This is pretty much Godzilla in the movie where, he was, first encountered Ebirah, and he's on the shoreline and everything like that, getting ready to play some volleyball with rocks and stuff. So, very nice pose, very nice paint job, and very nice detail with the Godzilla. And Godzilla and Ebirah are in scale with each other, because I'll pull that out right now, because Ebirah is the next one we're going to be going over. So here he is, scaled up with Ebirah. Very nice scale. Very nice. They go hand in hand. This is a must-have set for any X Plus collector, in my opinion. This is a great set. Now, on to Ebirah, the monster that I really wanted out of this set, because I didn't have an Ebirah in my collection. So, go straight on into it with paint job with Ebirah. Very nice, I don't even want to call it like a Red Lobster type red. I mean, it's more of almost like a brick red with, different types of red highlights here and there. Kind of got a little bit of a lighter highlight red here on his arms and his legs a little bit of a darker brick red for the base of his body. little shadowings going down the little shell, parts of his tail. The little spikes and thorns on his back. You got black thorns and spikes, and then you have these kind of like grayish, curvish, grayish spikes that are curved forward. Very nicely well done. Kind of like a very bright red for his eyes. That's very nicely done. On his little antennas and feelers, I guess you could call them. Very nice, that same reddish color with a little bit of black and brown mixed in. On his claws, very nice red, but then you also kind of have this kind of creamish, grayish white along the, bladed, inner part of his claws, which is very nicely done and applied, I must say. No bit of slop whatsoever. On his underside, you got a little bit kind of a darker grayish brown going down his underbelly and everything like that. So very nicely done. And then again, you kind of just have a little bit of white shading on the rim of his kind of, fin tail. So very nice paint apps all the way around for Ebirah. Detail is fantastic. Definitely, shellfish-like and everything like that. And there's been, controversy, is Ebirah a lobster or is he something else? My opinion, I guess he could be a giant lobster, but at the same time, he has the big claw and he has the smaller claw, which is more or less a shrimp. What are they called? Crap, I can't think of the name. It was right there and it just disappeared. I hate it when that happens. But a crawfish. There you go. And he kind of more or less has that crawfish and shrimp type look, just because he has a big claw and then he has a smaller claw. Lobsters have two big claws, so I guess Ebirah is more of a shrimp. A giant shrimp, I guess, but that kind of seems kind of dumb. So I'm just going to call him a lobster. But very nicely well done on the detail for his shellish-like body, all the rough edges and everything like that. All the spikes are very nicely sculpted into it. All the bigger curved spikes going forward, very nicely well done and detailed and sculpted. Definition is just great. His eyebrows, very nicely done and etched into the sculpt. His eyes, very nicely done and kind of bug-like more than they are kind of sea creature crab-like. They almost look like bug eyes. His kind of pointed nose, I guess. I don't know. Very nicely done and comes very nicely down to a point. All the definition and roughness in it is great. All his feelers and antennas, very, very nicely well done and detailed. They're not just smooth. They are very rough and, have very nice definition to them. On Ebirah's underside, you kind of got all that hair, and, whatever crabs and shrimp have underneath them, whether it's hair or some other type of, feeler or, nerve endings or whatever. But very nicely done. His mouth is very nicely done and etched into the sculpt. Very awesome that they have his mouth in there and everything like that. Claws, very nicely done. I do like how this claw comes out, and it has kind of the shorter top curved claw, and then the bottom claw is just this super long spear-like claw, which is the claw that he used in the movie to stab those two natives that landed in the water, and then he ate them. So very nicely done. Very nice big claw over here. Very nicely well done and sculpted. Awesome, awesome, well detailed. No complaints about it whatsoever. That is just awesome. This claw is spot on. It's just perfect representation of the giant claw that he has in the film and that you see at the beginning of the movie and in certain parts of the movie where they're going through the storm, and then he has this big claw that's up above the water for some reason, who knows why. But then he has all these nice little legs, all the definition and everything in the legs very nicely done. Legs are very nicely, they come out and they curve back in underwards, very nicely done. Again, just all the roughness and definition on the legs, very nicely done. The little tiny, V-type claws, I guess you could call them, on each foot, very nicely done. Tail, very nicely done. I do like all these different, all the different shell armor pieces as they go down. Very, very nicely well done. And then, of course, his ending fin, all the grooves and lines, and even little bumps here on the top. Very nicely done, top and bottom. And even, it's, again, just very, very nicely well done, very nicely well detailed and sculpted. This figure is just beautiful. It deserves a lot of credit. It is spot on with the movie, for sure. But, Ebirah, he holds a special place, I guess, in my childhood. Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster was one of the movies I used to watch a lot that I had on VHS. And Ebirah was, always one of those monsters I thought was cool. And whenever me and my parents, family or whatever, whenever we went to Red Lobster to go eat, my dad would always save the crab claws. He'd clean them out really well and everything like that. And then we'd always take them home. And then that's all I would have would just be those crab claws that opened and closed. And then I would, when I was a kid, I would play with those with my Godzilla figures as if they were Ebirah. And those are my Ebirah figures, were actual real crab claws from Red Lobster that my dad cleaned out and kept in as good a shape as he could without busting them up too bad. And I had those until they really started to smell too terrible and kind of started to fall apart and everything. But so Ebirah holds a special place in my heart during my childhood and everything like that. So it is cool to have this figure. I have to thank you again, Dell, for giving me this, not giving me this set, but selling to me the set. One more thing I want to go over before I get to the end of the review here. With Ebirah, the way he sits on your shelf and everything like that, as you can see, I mean, these claws do move, so you can move these to whatever position you want them to be in, But, he's more or less, he kind of rests on his legs a little bit, but he's also going to be resting on these claws and everything, mainly this one. So, I mean, if you want him to kind of be raised up a little bit to where he's not resting on this and you don't want this claw to, like, kind of deform and curve a little bit, what you can do is what I have from my childhood is I have this little set of plastic, rubble and rocks. So I pretty much have this on the shelf where I have them, and I kind of just set them up on there like that, and boom, there you go. No issues whatsoever. So if you have something like this, or you can probably just go to your local dollar store and probably find something like this in the little toy packs that they got and stuff, if you want to use for your Ebirah. Or you can go realistic and go grab a rock from outside or something. That would look pretty cool too. Anyway, you guys, that is about it for this review on this set. Again, thank you, Dell, for selling me this set. I'm so happy to have it. It's a great set, and I will love it and cherish it, and it has a great home. And I'm glad to finally have an Ebirah in my collection. And that is about it, you guys, for this review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope I didn't miss anything, but I don't think I did. Anyway, we are Godzilla Fan Freaks. Like always, please comment, like, and subscribe. And we will see you guys in the next video review. Thank you for watching.